Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Chalk Talk, made possible by the Basketball Coaches Association of Michigan. My name is Kara Liles, and joining us this week is West Bloomfield girls basketball head coach Darrin McAllister. Coach, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. So, you've been in this basketball world for a little bit now. Why don't you sort of walk me through your basketball journey and how you got to West Bloomfield?
Well, I first started coaching back in 2006 when my daughter started playing basketball. So I started in AAU. I was always been a football guy. I played football in college. So I had to learn the game. I was a student of the game. And I coached AAU for a while. And then I got the opportunity to coach college basketball at Wayne State. So I coached there for 4 years, learned a lot about the sport, got an opportunity to learn about recruiting and developing players, but also learned that I wanted to get back into law enforcement, something that I was trained to do. So I got back into law enforcement, and I had the opportunity to apply for the job at Waterford Kettering. I went there and coached for 1 year, and then the opportunity for West Bloomfield came about. It was a great situation, and I thought about it, prayed about it, and I interviewed for the job and got the job, and it's been the best situation since.
So you mentioned, going back into law enforcement, what you were trained for. But, I mean, did you always want to be a basketball coach? Was that something you always saw yourself doing?
Absolutely not.
No?
I only got into it because my daughter wanted to play, and the funny story is she was trying out for AAU team, and the coach pulled me aside and said, "Hey, we're gonna have to let your daughter go." And I'm thinking, man, that's gonna really hurt her. So I found a creative way to tell her, "Hey, I'm gonna start my own AAU team," so she wouldn't have to deal with the
That
dynamics
is
of being cut.
awesome. Yeah.
And I started my own program, and I made her understand, if you're going to do this, you got to give it your all. So that first year on the AAU team, she rode the bench most of the year, and we worked, and ultimately she ended up playing Division I basketball, and then transferred to Wayne State when I was there. So she learned all the tools of the game and what it takes to be successful.
So ultimately, you can thank your daughter for getting you into coaching.
I do, and I actually brought her on my staff when I got to West Bloomfield. So she's a part of the ride. She's been a part of the journey, and I do thank her.
That is awesome. Seriously, that is so cool.
But I will say this: she's the reason that I don't have any hair right now.
You know what? Maybe it's a little bit of coaching and her. We'll blame it on both, right?
We can do that.
All right. Well, I mean, last year, first year head coach, you come in and, you win it all. Was that something that you were expecting, or?
I don't mean to sound cocky or arrogant when I say this, but we expected that. From day one of practice, the players bought into it, and then they said that that's what they wanted to do. I told them that's what I wanted to do. As a matter of fact, during the interview process, I told the athletic director that those were our expectations, and we had the mantra last year, I believe, and we had that mentality. We believe it, and we did it.
And you said, last year before the season, you let your girls, name the goal. And they said from that very first day, we want to be state champions. What did that tell you about your team? Before practice even started, that was their goal.
That told me a lot about them. That told me that they're the type of players that will reach for the stars. And I often tell them, if you reach for the stars, you'll never come up with a handful of mud. So for them to reach for that goal, it put a lot of pressure on myself and the coaching staff and the athletic department. But we made sure that they had all the resources and made sure that they were prepared. And the end result was a state championship.
Did they have that same energy kind of going into this season, bringing it over from last season, that same type of, this is what we want and this is what we're going to work for?
They did, but I will say this. Each team is a different team. Our mantra last year was, I believe. The mantra this year is together. We had 5 seniors on the team last year, so we had a lot of maturity on that team. We had a lot of players that would take care of issues before it got to the coach. So this team is a little younger than last year. We're more experienced, but we're a little younger. And we only have 2 seniors and one senior that's a starter. So this is a totally different team. But the mindset's still the same. We believe that we can win it all again, and those players are working day in and day out to accomplish that goal.
I heard you mention, your motto. This year it's together. Last year it was believe. How important isn't that everyone buys in? It's not just a motto. This is how our team is going to work day in and day out.
It's very paramount. I mean, we have to have 100% participation to accomplish that. We did it last year, and we did it this year. When I will say from the onset, I didn't understand that I needed to change the mantra, the motto of the team because it's a new team. So that was a learning experience for me. And once we did that, it was a thing where we came together and we put together a brutal schedule, a brutal off-season schedule. I'm sorry, non-conference schedule, which was great for us, and it really brought us together even more so. So we're starting to get what we want to get, and we're starting to hit all cylinders right around the right time.
You said, you builded such a tough schedule, and it's not a short season, right? I mean, there's games all the time. You're going through stuff every week. How important is it to keep your team really focused on that goal through all of these games?
I'll tell you this: it's not easy. It's not easy. It's a long season. Players deal with certain sicknesses. As a matter of fact, we were lucky enough last year that we dealt with the COVID situation in our team in December early on, and we ended up losing the game. This year we were dealt with the flu. I mean, nearly our whole team had the flu one particular game, and we ended up losing that game. But the thing about it was against a great team. So our reserve players got an opportunity to play against some top-notch players and showed a lot of resiliency. Even though we didn't win it, they showed what they can do. So that actually benefited us for February and March.
How well would you say that your team gets along? I know you mentioned that, you have your reserves coming in, getting to get that chance. How well do you think the whole team is, getting along at this point in the season?
I would say I have the cheat code. And what I mean by that is I have 3 sets of sisters that are in the program. I have
Okay.
Summer Davis, India Davis, who are the twin sisters. I have
Yep.
Kendall Hendricks and Sydney Hendricks, which are sisters. And then I have Destiny Washington and one of my assistant coach, Tyler Washington, is my assistant. So I have the cheat code. When we say family, we really are family.
Okay, so is there any team bonding? Do you guys go out to eat, go do some cool activities? What's it like outside of basketball?
Well, I think the biggest thing is letting the players get to know your coaching staff, and these players get to know me before every practice. We spend about 15 minutes, anywhere from 15 minutes to a half an hour, in our circle, and we're just talking. And I allow them to talk about any and everything. We'll talk about. I think it's good for basketball. I think it's good for mental health. I think it's good for academics because you'll have one player talking about what a grade that they just got, and another player say, "Hey, I'm struggling in the area," and then they'll kind of tutor each other. So that helps out. We've had game night where we went to some players' houses, including the coaches, and we played these charade games. And of course, I look real silly playing them, but they got to see a different side of myself and the coaching staff. So we often do that. And those players hang out. They genuinely love each other. We have a great parent group, and most of all, it all starts with our athletic director, Eric Pierce. He created this where it just trickles down where the togetherness and the unity is there, and he really gives us the resources to be successful.
I heard you mention mental health. How important is that? It's such a big thing everywhere you go, and it's starting to get the attention that it really deserves. How important is it to you and your team?
It's very important. I take it very serious because, as I mentioned before, my background is in law enforcement, and for a while I was a homicide detective. But I really realized the effects of mental health to the degree of some people would really get sick and some would pass away or some would commit suicide. So I understand mental health, and it really trickles over into sports. So that's why we really take time to talk about different things, talk about different issues, because these kids have a lot to deal with more than just basketball. They have to worry about armed gunmen in school and bullies and so forth. So we try our best from an athletic standpoint to try and to deal with those issues head on and give those players an opportunity to talk. The beautiful part about it is our coaches are there, our athletic department there, the parents are there. And we even had one player that, she was dealing with some issues and it was just really bothering her. And she says, I don't want to play ball. And I said, hey, we're not letting you go. You're going to stay a part of the program. And she became I don't consider her a team manager. I consider her a coach's assistant. And she's really bought into it, and she's been great with that position.
I love that. And it's things like that that really makes you understand that it's bigger than basketball,
100%. 100%.
So, I mean, like I mentioned before, you're having a great season so far. What do you expect as we get closer to tournament play of your girls? I mean, where do you see this season going?
At this point, I really see it continuing to move up. We're getting better and better every day. And I know that's a cliche, but we are genuinely getting better and better every day. And our goal still remains the same. We want to be the last team playing. We want to be the last team standing with a championship. That's our goal. So we're putting that work in to accomplish that. And I use an analogy. We're putting that money in the bank to cash out in March.
All right, Coach. Well, that wraps up this edition of Chalk Talk. For more information on the Basketball Coaches Association of Michigan and to nominate a coach for Coach of the Week, simply visit bcam.org. Thanks so much for chatting with us, Coach, and good luck the rest of the season.
Thank you for having us. Good day. Have a good day.